Okay, so as always, begin your practice wherever you feel comfortable, somewhere that you can really focus on your breathing and relax onto your mat without feeling too much tension going on in the body, hopefully. So you can lie down, you can begin in child's pose or seated, anywhere that feels good. As always, just once you're comfortable, begin with the breath. So gentle inhales and exhales through the nose. Notice how the breath feels at the beginning. It might be quite short, maybe a bit heavy. Notice where the breath or where the expansion is in the body as you breathe. So on the inhale, we want to feel a 360-degree expansion of the ribs. Feel your lower ribs moving out laterally. And on the exhale, feel everything drawing in and down, feel the body relax more. So we'll take a breath in through the nose. And at the top of that inhale, add a slight pause just for a couple of seconds. Then exhale as long as you can, pushing the air out. Add another pause for a couple of seconds. And then breathing in again. Adding a pause at the top. And exhale. Adding a pause at the bottom. So just breathing at your own sort of rhythm. Might be 2 or 3 seconds on the inhale to begin with. Maybe you can lengthen that to 5 or even more. Adding those pauses for a couple of seconds, and the same for the exhale, really pushing the air out. Might just start with a few seconds and then we can lengthen that too. Gradually just really working into that breath, noticing the response in the body. Keeping your mind focused on those inhales and exhales. Feel the cooler air drawing in on the inhale. And that nice warm air on the exhale. Trying to keep that connection with our breath throughout the practice. And just notice if there's points throughout the practice that you forget about the breath or the breathing rhythm suddenly changes dramatically. And just try to remind yourself to invite that breath back in, maybe slowing it down. So now's a good time to just set an intention for the practice, and that might be just that, the breath. Or maybe there's something else that you want to set your intention for this evening. That can be to open up a part of the body that feels really restricted, to let go of a stressful day, or to dedicate your practice to somebody else. Keep that intention present with you throughout. And when you feel ready, we're going to start to move about a bit. So you can just wiggle about in the body, do what feels good. Maybe reach the arms forward if you're in child's pose and walk them around to one side into a lateral stretch, pressing the bum back to the heels. Moving them around both sides. And then bring them back to the center. We're going to lift the hips and slide the hands forward into a puppy pose. So we draw the chest down towards the ground. Hips are above the knees. Eyes look forward. And if that's too much for the neck or mid-upper back, just draw the forehead down. And then from there, let's come up onto all fours. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips, and have a bit of a wiggle about through your spine. So making some circles, rolling around, pressing out through the ribs, rounding out through the spine at the top, drawing the belly down at the bottom as you lift the eyes. Still breathing in and out of the nose. And come back to a neutral position where we'll tuck the tailbone under, curl up through the spine, segmenting your way to the top. Tuck the chin, press the ground away. And then tilt your pelvis forward, segmenting your way to the top again as we go into extension. Open the chest, lift the eyes.
Draw your shoulder blades down towards your back pocket. And then tuck the tailbone, curling up again back into cat. Tilting the pelvis forwards into our extension. And as we open the chest here, taking a nice long inhale through the nose. Really trying to expand the chest even more. As you tuck the tailbone and curl up, holding it here, really focus on the next exhale, drawing the navel in, rounding out, tucking the chin. And then come back to a neutral position. Hook your toes and send your bum to your heels, just stretch into your feet. Stretch the toe joints, stretch the soles of the feet, have a wiggle about. You can have the hands out in front here, or you can bring the whole body up into more of a kneeling position to put a bit more load into the feet there. And then unhook your toes and just sit on the tops of the feet and just notice how the tops of the feet feel too. If this kneeling position is too much, you can just lift the hips a bit. And just stretch the wrists at the same time whilst we're in this kneeling position. So fingertips towards your knees, heels of the hands away. You can walk them further and further away for a deeper stretch depending on how flexible your wrists are, or you can keep them nice and close. Rock side to side, move forwards and back. Grip the mat with the top pads of the fingers. We can play around with where the fingertips face, so you can face them towards you and then you can move them out to the sides and rock side to side. Then you can move them forwards and rock forwards and back. You can stay there for a bit longer. And also we want to stretch the backs of the hands to get into the wrist extensors. So gently rock back and forth with the backs of the hands on the ground. Keep the arms straight. Bring yourself back onto all fours. And then hook your toes, send your bum to your heels, lift your hips into your first downward dog. We're going to take the head through the shoulders, look back between the legs. Turn your biceps towards each other. And we can keep the knees bent or begin to alternate, extending one leg, rebending it, extending the other, and just pedaling through the feet. Check in with the calves and the hamstrings. Every time you extend that leg, contract the quads. Maybe you can extend both. Don't worry if your heels don't touch down. From here, lift the eyes and we'll begin to walk to the top of the mat. You're welcome to jump if that feels more comfortable. So we'll come halfway up. Knees can be soft, hands can be on blocks or on the shins. Maybe you can get fingertips to the ground if your hamstrings are more flexible. Take a breath in through your nose, really fill up the lungs as much as you can. On your exhale, push the air out the nose or the mouth as you fold. You can bend the legs, hold the elbows and just ragdoll side to side. And then from there, we'll curl up through the spine, coming up into Tadasana, mountain pose. Palms together at the chest or palms open by the sides. Take a moment to breathe. Spread the weight throughout the feet. Try to really spread your toes on the ground. We'll just open the shoulders up a little bit more, standing before we come into our first salutation. So reach the arms up, lift the eyes, look up towards the hands. Open them really, really wide, nice big backstroke. Bring the hands to the lower back top of your bum and then really roll the shoulders back. Squeeze the shoulder blades together as you puff the chest open. Inhale, expand the chest, try to extend the spine more. Exhale, maybe you go a bit further, really squeeze the glutes. Lift the chest back up to standing, nice and tall. Interlace the fingers behind you, press the palms together. If your shoulders are really tight or the chest feels tight, then you're better here holding a yoga strap or a pipe or something behind you. Otherwise, interlace the fingers, press the palms together, open your chest again. Then we soften the legs, lift the arms up behind us, going to a shoulder extension. Taking the arms overhead to where you can. You can keep the legs bent. You can also have a go at just alternating, extending one and then the other. On your next breath in, lift the eyes, sweep the hands, the arms forwards, raising up, palms together, lift the gaze, open them really wide, bring the hands to the top of the bum into your lower back, open the chest, squeeze the glutes and extend. Lift the chest up, interlace the fingers, open up the chest once more, and soften the knees, fold, taking the arms over again. Focus on your breath. Feel that tension in the chest. If we're tight in the chest, feel that stretch. And again, sweep the arms forwards, lift the gaze, reach up. Nice big circle, open the arms, bring the hands to the lower back. Expand the chest. Use your breath. Bring the body up, interlace the fingers one more time, open the chest again, and then soften the legs, fold over. Knees can be really bent, depending on how the hamstrings feel, they don't have to be straight. And then swoop the arms forwards, lift the eyes, reaching up tall. As you fold, you can either open the arms wide or bring the palms together, pass them through center and bring the hands down to the ground towards Uttanasana. Inhale through the nose, and from here, just step back to plank, tuck the tailbone. You can lower your knees, especially for your first one. You can then gradually make it harder if you like. We're going to do 5 scapular push-ups, nice and slow, not fast. So squeeze the shoulder blades together, keep the arms straight, and then wrap them around the upper back, feel them wrapping around the ribs. Chest moves towards the ground as you lower down, and then we feel that upper back rounding at the top. There's 2 or 3 more. And again, like you can do this from plank, which is harder, or kneeling as I'm doing, which is easier. From there, we're going to lower down through Chaturanga Dandasana. Again, this can be from plank or from kneeling. If you're kneeling, then you can do it with me. We're just going to let the shoulders move forwards, tuck the tailbone under, grip the ground and lower the chest to the floor. Lying onto your stomach, lift the eyes, hover the hands, squeeze your bum. Feel the muscles in the back of the body really firing up with the backs of the shoulders, all the way down through the spine into the glutes. Keep lifting the gaze, keep lifting actively through the spine. And bring the hands either side of the shoulders, travel through to upward dog, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Lift your hips back to downward dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. And breathe. From your downward dog, step your right foot between your hands, raise up into a high lunge, arms come up. If this is too much with palms together, just go for a wide position with the hands. Tuck your tailbone, allow the back knee to bend if the hip flexors are tight. If the hip flexors are really, really open, then you might find you can straighten this back leg more. Lower ribs stay down, eyes lift. Dive the hands forward to the top of the mat, step to plank. We're going back through Chaturanga. You can do it from kneeling or from plank. This time, travel straight through to upward dog. Lift your hips, downward dog. And breathe. Step your left foot between the hands and raise the arms up back to high lunge. You can bend the back knee, tuck the tailbone, pin the lower ribs down. Breathe through the nose. Checking in with those hips. And then dive it back down again, back through Chaturanga. If the Chaturangas get too much throughout tonight's practice, you can just skip them out and go straight to an upward dog. When you're ready, come back to downward dog. And then lift your eyes, step or jump in to the top of the mat. Come up halfway, take a breath. Fold on your exhale, Uttanasana. Knees can bend. Curl up through your spine. Palms pass through center. Reach up, lift the gaze. And fold back down, back to Uttanasana again. Lift your eyes, bring your hands to the ground, step to plank. Tuck the tailbone, 5 scapular push-ups. Squeeze together, wrap apart. Again, do these from your knees if you feel like the whole body. We don't want to feel the hips sinking down and up. We want to keep the lower ribs pinned in, nice and solid on each repetition so that we're not here. On your 5th one, lower down Chaturanga Dandasana. Lie onto your stomach. Hover your hands, lift the chest, lift the eyes, engage the back of the body. Squeeze the shoulder blades against the ribs. So really externally rotating as much as you can. So if the elbows are pointing up here, try and squeeze them in and down. And then bring the hands down, travel through upward dog. Lift your hips, downward dog. Ardha Mukha Svanasana. And breathe. When you're ready, step your right foot forward, raise the arms up into your high lunge. Each time we come back to high lunge, you might then find you can start to extend the back leg more. Try to square the hips. Also challenge the depth in the hips. So notice where the front knee and hip are positioned. Maybe the hips are really high at the moment. Gradually see if we can work actively deeper. Bring the hands to the top of the mat, step to plank, lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Travel through Ardha Mukha Svanasana, lift the hips, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. Step your left foot through, raise the arms up. Again, breathing through the nose, opening the back hip, challenging the depth in the front hip. And then dive it down. Step to plank, Chaturanga Dandasana. Travel through upward dog, lift your hips. Downward dog. Lift the eyes, step or jump in. Come up halfway, take a breath. Fold on your exhale, Uttanasana. Curl up, palms pass through center. Lift the eyes up, lift the gaze. Fold on your exhale when you're ready. Lift the eyes, step or jump back into your plank or your low plank to high plank. 5 scapular push-ups. Glutes are on, lower ribs pinned. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, then wrap them apart. And again, do this from knees or from plank. Once you've done 5, lower Chaturanga Dandasana. Lie on your stomach, hover the hands, lift the chest, really trying to actively lift up and up and up. Keep breathing. And then come through to upward dog. Lift your hips, downward dog, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. From downward dog, step your right foot forward, back into your high lunge again. Tuck the tailbone, pin the lower ribs, starting to really challenge that position now, working deeper if you can. You can keep the arms overhead, or you can open them out. You can even interlace the fingers behind you, press the palms together. Try not to let the hands hit your bum, try to lift them off and open the chest. From there, dive it forward, step to plank, Chaturanga Dandasana. Come through to upward dog, lift your hips, downward dog, and breathe. Lift the eyes, step the left foot forward, raising up to high lunge. Again, arms can be overhead or open them out. Interlace the fingers, squeeze the palms together, open the chest. Dive it forward, step to plank, Chaturanga Dandasana. Travel through upward dog, lift your hips, downward dog. Have a moment to breathe in downward dog. And then when you're ready, lift the eyes, step or jump. Come up halfway, take a breath. And fold on your exhale. Curling up, palms pass through center. We're going through twice more. So reach up, grow nice and tall, and fold back down, Uttanasana. Lift the eyes, step or jump to plank. If you jump, then land low and push high. 5 scapular push-ups. Arms stay straight, just feel the shoulder blades moving together and then away. Lower Chaturanga Dandasana, lie on your stomach. This time you can choose to hover the hands and lift the chest, or to make it harder, interlace the hands behind you, press the palms together. Lift the chest higher, you can lift the feet, try to squeeze the feet together into locust pose. Notice if the hands relax on the bum, try to lift them up, engage the backs of the shoulders, and then bring the hands either side of the shoulders on the ground, come through to upward dog. Lift your hips, downward dog, and breathe. Step your right foot through, come up to high lunge, challenge your high lunge, keeping the lower ribs in. And then from your high lunge, bring your hands down inside the front foot into a deep lizard lunge. And you can make some circles and really work into the hips a bit more if you want to make any shapes that your body's asking you to, then do. You can lower your back knee, you can have hands on top of blocks. And just have a moment here to breathe. So a good 10 breaths. Trying to open up and find more space on the exhales. If you want a deeper stretch for the back hip flexors, then reach the right arm back to hold on to the left foot. Look over the shoulder, squeeze your bum. You can stay there or maybe work the forearms down inside the front foot. So the back knee can be lowered or lifted. Forearms can come down to the ground on top of yoga blocks. Try to keep length in your spine rather than rounding out to get the elbows down there. You're better off just elevating them a bit higher if you feel that's what's happening. Keep the eyes lifted, chest open. One more breath. And then to come out, we'll come back up onto the hands. Toe heel your foot into the center. Press through the legs, lift back up to high lunge. See if that's opened up those hips a bit more as well. Dive it down, step to plank, Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. Lift the hips. Ardha Mukha Svanasana, downward dog. Breathe. Step the left foot through. Raise the arms up into your high lunge. Challenging the length in the lunge, activating the glutes, lower ribs pinning in and down. Bring the hands inside the front foot. You might need to shuffle the foot out the way a bit. Back knee can lower. First of all, just moving around into the hips, opening them up a bit, searching for any tight bits. And you can choose to stay there with what you're doing or lower the back knee, reach the left arm back, hold on to the back foot, looking over the shoulder. You might need to use yoga blocks for support under your hands. Whichever arm we're reaching back with, so if we're all on the same side, then we're reaching the left arm back, really try to draw the shoulder back and open, looking back, rather than feeling it hunched in. So really open the chest, expand the chest, squeeze your bum, feel the hip flexors stretching deeper. You can stay there for a bit longer or bring the hands back inside the front foot, maybe go to the forearms if you did that on the other side. Back knee can stay down or lifted. Try to lengthen through your spine and open your chest. Use blocks where you need to. Feel a stretch, perhaps for some under the thigh of that front leg, so the top of the hamstrings, the hip flexors on the back leg. When you're ready to come out, we come up onto the hands first, shuffle the foot into the center, ready to come back to high lunge, press through the legs, lift the arms up, see how the hips are feeling, and then dive it down, step to plank, Chaturanga Dandasana. Travel through Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, lift your hips, Ardha Mukha Svanasana, and just have a moment to breathe in your downward dog. Pin the lower ribs in, eyes can look back between the feet, or maybe you draw them up higher. Imagine you're going to look towards the navel. Biceps turn towards each other, contract the thighs, and then lift the eyes, step or jump in. Come up halfway, take a breath. On your next exhale, fold as deeply as you can into Uttanasana. Curl up, palms past through center, once more through, reaching up tall. Opening the arms, folding back down to Uttanasana. Step or jump back. Remember, if you jump back, land low and then push high. You get that extra push up in. And from here, 5-step push-ups. Squeeze together, wrap apart. Nice and slow, not rushed. On your last one, lower down, all the way onto your stomach. You can choose to hover the hands or interlace the fingers, or this time perhaps coming into a deeper back bend again. We bend the legs. And then take the hands behind us, and you want to hold, or you can hold the outer or inner edges of the feet. I prefer to hold the inner edges of the feet to open the chest more too. So holding the inner edges of the feet there, lift the chest, press the feet into the hands and pull the hands onto the feet. Press the hips to the ground by squeezing your glutes. And when you're ready to come out, release. Hands to the side of the shoulders, come through to upward dog. Lift your hips, downward dog. Breathe. When you're ready, step your right foot into the center. Raise the arms up, high lunge. Pin the ribs down. Challenge the length of that lunge. Squeeze the glutes. Lift the eyes. And then we're lowering the back knee, bringing the hands either side of this front leg, which can be on top of yoga blocks. It can be hands to hips or hands to the mat. From here, we send the hips back and pull the front toes up. You can point the foot. This will loosen the calves a bit. If you pull the toes up, you might feel it a bit more in the calves too. Either or both is fine. Rotate the hip so the foot will turn in or out. Just move that side to side to work into the hip. Keep breathing through the nose. You can have a bend at the knee. And then gently push your heel down into the ground. Feel a bit more activation there too. I'm going to move dynamically. So come forwards into a lunge position. Squeeze the back glutes. Lift the chest. Raise the arms up. You can always swap this for a lunge, lifting the back knee, really long lunge position, and then lower the back knee and hinge back over into the hamstrings. And we'll do that a few more times. So coming back, and you can go at your own pace for this. If you want to go a bit slower, go for it. Maybe lifting the back knee. If we're coming up into this lunge position, try not to sink into that front hip. Really lift the belly away from the thigh. And then hinge, bring the knee down, fold over. You can add those rotations again at the hip. Keep breathing. And again. And a couple more. Just moving at your own pace, focus on your breath. Each time seeing if you can fold a little bit deeper in the hamstrings and when we're in the hips. Challenging that active lunge position. One more of each. Back to the hamstrings. This time as you're holding the hamstring stretch, press down through the heels, take the breath in through the nose, really fill up the lungs as much as you can. Keep filling them up. And then exhale out of the mouth. Push the air out. See if you can fold a bit deeper as you do it. We'll do that once more, just so you get the hang of it. So inhale through the nose. Filling up and up and up as much as you can. And then exhale out the mouth. Push the air out. Fold deeper. Maybe you can reach further forward. Let's come back to our lunge position, back to our high lunge. Lift the arms, lift the back knee. And then when you're ready, dive it down, back to plank, chaturanga dandasana. Into upward dog. And lift your hips, downward dog. Notice how downward dog feels as well, if one side feels a little bit more open than the other in the backs of the legs. From here, step the left foot through, raise the arms up, high lunge. Challenge the length in that lunge, the depth in the hips, the activation in the back glute. When you're ready, lower the back knee. Remember, hands can come to hips or on top of blocks. We send the hips back by hinging, pull the front toes up or point. Find your stretch into your hamstrings, press down through the heel, rotate the thigh, the foot turns in and out. Keep breathing through the nose. When you're ready, we're going into the hips and the hamstrings dynamically, so going forwards, raise the arms up, belly away from that front thigh, squeeze the back glute, maybe lift the knee, and challenge that long lunge position. And then coming back down, hinging over. On those exhales, trying to really open up more space into the back of that front leg. Moving at your own pace, another few times through. Actively in the lunge, really try to grow tall through the arms. Biceps will draw closer towards the ears, reach up through the fingers, really extend the arms. Shoulder blades will upwardly rotate. As you hinge over, you can use the breath that we did on the other side. You can exhale out of the mouth. Focus on those full inhales. That exhale will help you take yourself deeper. Couple more times through. Stay connected with your breath. And on your next lunge, we'll make our way back through. So when you're in the hamstrings first, focus on the breath work that we did on the other side. So we're hinged over, we inhale through the nose, really fill up the lungs. Up and up and up. Exhale out the mouth. Think about tilting the pelvis forwards and maybe walking the hands further forward if you can. Inhale again. And on the exhale, reaching further forward. Come back to your lunge position, raise the arms up and overhead, lift the back knee, dive it down to plank, lower chaturanga dandasana. Travel through to your upward dog, lift your hips, downward dog, and breathe. You need to have a moment to rest, just lower your knees to the mat and have a moment to breathe in child's pose, otherwise you can stay in your downward dog. Two more breaths. When you're ready to come out, lift the eyes, step or jump forwards. Come up halfway, take a breath. Forward on your exhale, Uttanasana. Curl up, rest in Tadasana, have a moment to breathe. If you need a drink, have a drink. We're bringing ourselves to a standing wide leg fold next. So we're going to use the length of the mat. And from standing at the top of the mat, we just take one foot back. Nice wide stance. Big toes slightly turn in. And then we're going to activate those inner thighs. Squeeze the ground a little bit. Squeeze your bum. Take a breath in through the nose. Open and expand the chest. And then as you exhale, we're going to hinge. So think about tilting your pelvis forwards, pushing your bum back, folding over. You can bend your legs from the side. Focus on really trying to stick your bum out. So we tilt the pelvis forwards as we fold, rather than round out through the lower back. Bending the knees can help a bit with that too. Each exhale, see if you can fold a bit deeper. Contract your quads, muscles on the front of the thighs, muscles above the knees. On each exhale, again, seeing if you can fold more. Maybe you can hold your big toes with your peace fingers. And as you exhale, gently pull down through the arms as well. Press down through the big toes. Lift the eyes, bring the hands to the hips, bend the legs slightly and lift your chest. We're going to turn the heels in and the toes out for a wide stance. Nice, deep, wide-legged squat. Raise the arms up overhead. Bend the knees, coming down into a low squat. Palms can be together or arms can go wider, especially if you're feeling a bit too much tension in the mid-upper back or neck. Try and go as deep as you can in your squat. We're pressing the hips open. Toes can turn out. You can also challenge it by turning them in, forwards a bit more, but knees should track the toes in whichever position you are in. One more breath. And then come up, bring the hands down towards the hips, turn the big toes in, hinge over and fold again. You can kind of send the hips side to side into more of a Cossack, working into the inner thighs more, the ankles, knees and hips. Gradually see if you can go a bit deeper, maybe you can go into a full Cossack squat. And if you need to lift the heel, then lift the heel. It doesn't have to be grounded. From there, transition side to side. Make it harder, bring the hands off the ground, reach them out in front. The lower your transition, the more challenging that's going to be on the hips. You might have to come all the way up and then all the way across, and that's fine. Once more, and then we lift the hips in the center, fold over the legs again. If you'd like to transition to headstand from here, you're welcome to. I'm not going to do that this evening, but if you like to do that in your practice, then go for headstand for 5 breaths. Otherwise, stay here in your fold, contracting the quads. You can even start to walk the hands back through behind you, lifting the hips high. You can challenge the width of your stance. You could even go a bit narrower if you find your head is basically on the floor, or you can fold really, really deep. You might want to narrow the stance a bit and then try and fold. Mix it up. Once we've been here for 5 breaths, we're going to come back up to our deep squat again. So bring the hands to the hips, bend the legs, lift your chest back up to standing. Turn the toes out, raise the arms up, sit down low into your squat. Challenging the hips. You can wiggle about side to side a bit. Act as a bit of a good distraction. You can even bring one hand to the inner thigh and press the knee open or press the thigh away. Get a nice little twist through the spine as well. Works a bit into the ribs as well as the hips. Raise the arms back up. And then lift up out of your squat. Bring the arms open and wide, bring them back to the hips, turn the big toes in. So one more time, we're just going into our fold. Hinge at the hips, fold over, hands to the ground. You can go back to your headstand again if you like. Otherwise, once again, stay in your fold. Lifting those hips high. With each exhale, trying to fold deeper. Keep a strong micro bend in the knees. So we're not locking them back really forcefully at the joint. Contract the quads, feel the knees are nice and strong. Lift the hips high. Remember, hands can be on blocks. Once you've been here for 5 breaths, we're going to toe heel the feet in into a squat, Malasana, palms together. Sit in your squat, working into the ankles, knees and hips again. And breathe. We're coming into crow pose from here. You can choose any variation of balance. If you'd like to mix it up and you want to swap it for something else, then please do. You could do handstand, you could do crow, you could do headstand. Whichever balance you choose, no more than about 5 breaths each time. We're going to go through a bit of a routine where we bring ourselves into some other core work too. I'm not going to say core work because crow is still core work. But from your squat, all we're going to do from here is lift the hips, pick up the legs, find your crow, or maybe even go to your straight arm, round out through the upper back. If you don't feel ready for this yet, you can keep the feet on the ground. And then from here, once you've been here for 5 breaths, bring your feet to the ground, try and sit into a really deep squat and then sit onto your bum. And that's going to be different for everyone. So you might need to use your hands to help assist you on the way down, but just explore and have a bit of play. Once you're sat on your bum, we're going to come to Navasana, boat pose. Lift the legs up, hold the backs of the thighs. So this is our starting variation. To make it a bit harder, reach the arms away. Keep compressing the belly to the thighs as much as you can, then maybe extend one leg. Maybe extend both. Point the toes, reach forward through the arms and breathe. Two more breaths. From here, cross the ankles, bring them nice and tight to your body. We're going to go to a plank, so we're just going to bring the hands forward and jump the legs back, then lower down through Chaturanga Dandasana. Travel through to your upward dog. Open the chest, really press through the shoulders, engage the tops of the legs, stretching through the abdominals and the fronts of the hips. And then from here, lower the knees, send your bum back to your heels. From our kneeling position, we're coming into camel pose. So you can use 2 yoga blocks for this as well and have them either side of your feet, or we'll go through some other progressions. So to start with, we'll come up and open the hips, squeeze the bum. You can hook your toes, which might feel more comfortable as well. So have a bit of play with both. You can choose to unhook. Try both, see how you feel. Bring the hands to the lower back, top of your bum. Open the chest, squeeze your glutes. So this might be as far as you go. Hooking the toes can help a bit with that balance. Squeeze the elbows towards each other. Keep expanding the chest. See if you can come into a deeper back bend. And if you're able to, you could maybe reach for the heels or place your hands on yoga blocks. So again, if my toes are hooked, makes it a bit easier to reach back. If my toes are unhooked, it's further. So you can try that as well. Try not to let the hips come back like this. Press the hips open, engage your glutes and really expand the chest. We're getting into the thoracic. And then from here, lower your bum down to the ground. Reach the hands forwards into a child's pose. And breathe. We're coming through that flow twice more. So to begin with, we're just going to come to a downward dog by hooking the toes, lifting the hips. And then bring your thumbs to touch. Jump forward to a squat. Sitting in that deep squat, palms together. Again, heels can be lifted. From your squat, we're going to come to crow, lift the hips, collect the legs. Crow or crane, or any balance of your choice. 5 breaths. Once you've been here for 5 breaths, bring the feet close together. Arms can reach forward. So the arms are reaching forward between the knees. A really narrow squat. And again, this might not feel accessible, so don't worry if it doesn't. Sit to your bum. Use your hands to help lift the legs. And come to Navasana. Navasana, any variation that challenges you. So you might start with both legs up and then gradually make it easier throughout the hold if you need to. Couple more breaths. And then we're going to bring the feet in really close, crossing the ankles, reaching forward, jump to plank, lower, Chaturanga Dandasana. Come through to your upward dog and focus on stretching and opening the hips and the lower belly. You can engage the tops of the legs, open the chest. From there, lower the knees, send the bum back to the heels. Coming back to camel pose, you're welcome to swap this for bridge pose as well if you'd like to go into bridge. And I'm also going to show you how to transition from camel to bridge. This is a really advanced back bend, so don't worry if this just looks crazy right now and it doesn't feel like it's something you want to try. You don't have to do it. So from camel pose, I want to have my toes hooked, hips open. And to begin with, I'm going to go into camel, and this might be as far as you go. So find your camel pose, squeeze the glutes, focus on that thoracic extension. Hands can be on the heels, keep the toes hooked if you're going to transition. If you want to go further, this is going to be where I lift the hands off the legs and reach them overhead. Press through the legs, find the ground with the hands, come up into bridge. We'll do this again when we come through one more time. If you want to see a recap, then again, from camel pose, toes are hooked, chest is open, find the heels first, make sure that you're not on the tops of your feet for this one. And then I need to bring the hands off the feet. I'm going to take them overhead and find the ground. Squeeze the glutes and use the strength in your hips to help you find the floor behind you. Press through the shoulders, open up into wheel pose. And then to come back, exit however you feel comfortable. If you're in camel, then all we're going to do is come back to downward dog. So if you're a little bit further back on your mat, like I was before, bring the hands forward, lift the hips, Ardha Mukha Svanasana. We're coming through that once more. So from your downward dog, bring the thumbs to touch, and let's step or jump into a deep squat. Lift the chest, breathe. Couple more breaths in your squat, and then we'll be coming into a balance. Again, you can choose any balance of your choice for 5 breaths. So when you're ready, come into your balance. Remember, you can keep the feet on the floor in crow if you don't feel ready to balance there yet. Round out through the upper back, push the floor away. Maybe pull the feet towards the bum. Try to think about the legs being as light on the backs of the arms as possible, so you're pressing hard away from the ground rather than letting the weight sink towards the ground. Push away. When you're ready, bring the feet down towards the ground. See if you can sit in that really narrow squat, reaching between the legs. Sit your bum to the ground. Lift the legs up, Navasana. Feel the quads and the hip flexors. Probably shaking. Well, I am. You might be fine. And from here, lower down, cross the ankles. Bring the hands to the top of the mat. Back to plank, Chaturanga Dandasana. Into your upward dog to stretch out through the belly. Opening the chest. Send the bum back to the heels. So again, you can choose either camel pose or bridge, or have a go at the transition again if you like. Listen to your body and just take it steady. So for camel pose, toes hooked or unhooked. If you're going to transition, you want them hooked. And then we're going to open the hips, squeeze the bum, hands come to the lower back, top of the bum, expand and open the chest. Maybe find the heels. Keep breathing. And then from there, if you want to transition, rotate the arms overhead, find the ground. Press through the shoulders, press through the legs, take the head through. So rather than looking down at the ground between the hands, look through the shoulders, creating more space for the upper back, really open the chest. When you're ready to come out, transition your way back however you like. And then from here, we're just going to come into child's pose. So knees wide, big toes touching, reach the arms forward. Staying here for just 2 or 3 breaths. You can choose to stay there for longer. Otherwise, cross the ankles, sit to your bum. Slowly lie down onto your back. Draw the knees in. And bring yourself into a happy baby. So we can hold on to the backs of the thighs. Maybe gently rock side to side. You can hold the calves, ankles, outer edges of the feet, or even dive the hands in, side the legs, and then hold the heels. Press the tailbone down towards the ground. Then just gently rock side to side or hold it still. Close the eyes. You can stay in happy baby or rock up to the shoulders. Hold the hips with the hands. Keep the weight through the tops of the shoulders and the backs of the arms, not the neck. From there, draw the knees towards your forehead. If you want to take it further, take the legs overhead. Just nice to flex the spine after all that extension. And then gently lie down onto the ground. You can choose to come into any variation of pigeon that you like. I'm going to go into a reclining pigeon. So you can copy me or go into full pigeon pose, whichever you'd rather. Take one leg on top of the opposite thigh and just let that thigh open out. And you should start to feel a little bit into the outer hip and glute. That might be enough, otherwise draw the bottom leg in. You can hold on to the back of that thigh and you can gently press the top thigh away to deepen it. Shouldn't feel any knee pain when doing pigeon, so just be gentle with your body. Don't push through it if you do feel anything funky at the knee. If you want to deepen this stretch again, you can dive the hands through, so one hand goes between the legs and you hold on to the shin of that top leg, or the bottom leg, I mean, the one that's now further away. Close your eyes, soften your jaw, let your facial muscles relax. Just breathe naturally. When you feel ready, we'll switch to the opposite side. Taking the other leg on top of the opposite thigh, just letting that thigh drop open, and then maybe lifting the leg in, holding the thigh, maybe pushing that top leg away a little bit. Again, gentle breaths, soften your jaw, relax the facial muscles. You can maybe dive the hands through, holding the shin. stay there for as long as you like, otherwise in your own time, bring yourself down into a relaxing, comfortable position on your mat, anywhere that you can just allow the body to soften and let go of any other tension. And you can choose maybe feet together, knees open, or feet wide, knees together. Maybe feet up in the air, anywhere that you can just relax. Hands onto the lower ribs, fingertips touching. And on each breath, just feel as you inhale the expansion through the ribs. And as you exhale, feeling everything soften down and relax. And maybe then just let the palms open towards the ceiling, hands out to the sides, surrendering the shoulders down into the ground. Bring your awareness to your breathing and see how softly you can breathe, almost to the point that you can no longer hear it. Nice gentle long inhales, long exhales. Nice and slowly, in your own time, you can begin to just wiggle the fingers and the toes, maybe go for a full body stretch. You can choose to stay where you are for as long as you like. You don't have to come up. If you feel ready to bring yourself up, then do so slowly. Sit comfortably, just readjust. Hands can be on the thighs or on the knees, give the shoulders a roll forwards and back. If you feel the need to do any other stretches, maybe a little twist or a side bend, then you can. And then when you're ready, palms come together at the heart center. Namaste. Thank you all for moving with me. I hope you feel good for that, guys. I will just stop the recording. Stay where you are if you're still lying down.